This is a second part video about the cross-platform Amiga and Mega Drive Blitz Basic libraries. Um, so I'm not going to cover anything that was in the previous video. All I'm going to be covering in this video is the sound drivers, which is the latest thing that I've added to it. Just before we go any further, I'll just open it up to show what. So as you can hear, we've got audio in our ROM. So what we need to do is so in our Mega Drive library, I've added wrappers for the MDS DRV driver. So that's the driver I've chosen for doing these Blitz Basic experiments. The main reason I chose this one in particular is because since it's fully position independent, and you can just include the binary bob, you don't need to have the source code and the audio content compiled every time. You can have those separate, and then you can include those as binary bobs. So that's what I've done on the Mega Drive library. So I've just included the pre-compiled driver as an inch bin. There's a couple of other files that we need to include, which are the MDS sequence and the MDS PCM file. So that's these will be your music sequences, your compiled MML files, and the PCM. So that's the raw sample data. So I've included both of those here. To generate those files, you need to use the tool in that is in the MDS DRV repository. Where is it? MDS link. So basically, you feed it your MML files that describe your music or your sound effect. Once you've created those, you run it through this command line tool that generates the two files that you need, and then you can feed those two files into the Blitz Basic program. Beyond that, there's only really a couple of things that you need to do. So you need to have an area of memory of at least 1024 bytes. Once we've got that memory reserved, we can feed it to our initialize function along with the address of where our sequences are and where our samples are. Then we can request to play a sample. So I've told it that I want the first sample in our sequence file. Priority 3 means, I believe that it means that it treats it as music rather than like a sample, like an explosion or something like that. And yeah, work areas, of course, where in memory we've got, where in memory we actually keep our data, so our 1K of data reserved for the audio library. But we also need to update it every frame. So I've got it in the VBlank interrupt. All I've done here is we put everything onto the stack and pop everything from the stack so that no matter when the vertical interrupt happens, it doesn't sort of mess up anything else that's running simultaneously. And then it just checks if we've got our work area pointer assigned, then we just update just by telling it where the work area is. So yeah, that's about it. And as I mentioned, this is the second part of the video. I'll put a link in for the first part into the chat. Into the YouTube description.